Hey, what's up, guys? Chad Hermansen here with Mental Edge Training Coach. Today, I'll be talking with Tony Beasley. Tony is the third base coach for the Texas Rangers. We were teammates in Pittsburgh in the minor leagues when he had come down, and I had just found out that he is my personal Kevin Costner. Have you ever seen the movie Bull Durham? He explains his story, how he was sent down from AAA to AA to work with this young kid who happened to be me. So it's kind of funny how this story works that I knew nothing about. So we're going to enjoy Tony's story, his bout with cancer, some huge adversity that he's going through at this point in time and is killing it. So enjoy this episode with Tony Beasley. Hey, Tony, what's up, man? Welcome to the show. How's it going?
Going awesome, Hermie. It's good to see you, man. It's been a long time, so but I'm looking forward to this conversation because we haven't caught up in a while.
That's what's been great with these Zoom calls. I'm catching up with guys I haven't seen in well over a decade. I mean, it might be 15 plus, maybe even 20 years since I've seen you. So for our audience, so I was drafted by the Pirates in '95. You were already a part of the Pirates organization,
Right?
and it took me, I guess, 2 years. We were teammates together in AA in Zebulon, North Carolina. That's a Carolina Mudcats.
Absolutely.
So what's cool about that is, so at that time I was 19 years old, and you were our veteran of the team, right? You've been around for a long time. So what do you remember about that? Would be 1997. What do you remember about that?
Well, I remember it because I started that year in AAA in Calgary, and then I ended up coming back down late in the season. And I don't know if you know this, but this is what I was told anyhow. And like, you may be part of the reason why I came back down. That we'll get to it. So, because I'm having a pretty good year in AAA in Calgary, and Trent Jewish, the manager, and Trent calls me in his office after a game. This is probably, I don't know, June, maybe July-ish. And he's upset. I'm like, what's up, Trent? And he's like, Paul called me. Paul Tonnell was our farm director at the time. And he said, and he wants you to go to AA. And he said, you're not going. I don't want you to go. He said, so stay here until you hear otherwise. He said, but you can't come to the ballpark until you hear from it, because obviously they've made a move. They've sent another guy here. So I hung out in the apartment for like 3 days. I had my wife and my son with me. And I'm like, what's going on, man? I never heard anything like this. And Trent was like, he called me after those 3 days, and I went back and to his office at the ballpark. And we started talking, and he said, you're having a good year. I don't want you going down. Right. And he said, but we have a younger player in Zebulon. He said, and they want you to kind of work with him at second base. And I said, really? And so I said, who's the player? And he said, Hermansen. And I said, okay. And so I said, hey, man, I was kind of like, that was my last year actually playing in here in '97. And so I kind of had knew that the road was kind of getting to the end, because Cam Bonifay had spoke to me about what he foresaw me after playing. And he had already talked to me about, whenever you decide you're done playing, there's a coaching opportunity for you in this organization. And so that was the first thing that kind of came to my mind.
So you got the subtle hint there.
Yeah, it was a very subtle hint, man. But I was always an organizational player, and I understood that. And so I was good with that. But, as a player, you always kind of hold on to that hope that, there's going to be a breakthrough, and I'm going to get a chance to play at the major league level. And for me, it didn't. That wasn't the route that got me to the major league level. It ended up being coaching. So who knows? It was probably the best decision that Paul Tonnell or anyone else had made as far as my career was concerned. So I came back down, and I think Banny was the manager. Jeff Bannister was the manager. I want to believe he was.
So that was 90, Mark Hill, Booter.
No, it was Booter. That's right. It was Booter. Yeah. Booter was the manager.
Banny was in I think Banny was still.
He was still in Lynchburg, maybe?
I think so.
Yeah, he was still in Lynchburg. Yeah, that's right. Banny was there in '98. because that was the year I was a player coach, and he was the manager there in '98. And so, yeah, I came down, and I don't know how much I worked with you. I don't remember that part of it, you know. But I just came down and
so I didn't know this. This is all new info.
That's what they told me.
Yeah,
man.
we're getting B's from AAA. Now I'm a mess at second. Well, so to kind of, I've been at shortstop the whole year,
right?
Majority of the year. But then I had enough of it. I'm like, get me in the outfield.
Yeah.
Playing center field for, I don't know, probably 2 months or so. Mm-hmm. And then that's when they came back to me and said, let's try you at second base.
Yeah.
And I'm like, well, I wasn't able to figure out a shortstop. How, second, so I guess it was we're going to try.
They told me they said, we want you to go and work around second base, like turn the double play with Hermie. And I was like, all right, cool. And so then I came down thinking that, I was going to have my first experience of coaching. But I don't remember one time where you and I were at second base together, like, hey, Hermie, this is the footwork, this is the transition. Right. I don't remember one of those. Because I do remember you was like, okay, I'm going to the outfield, But
so you're saying you didn't help me at all? Is that what you're saying?
I don't think I helped you. I don't think I helped you at all. I don't think so. But I remember envying your swing.
Okay.
Like, maybe he can help me, if I can learn.
We'll do a trade-off, right? So you're telling me, without even knowing it, you're my Kevin Costner.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely. That's something. You're right.
So for our audience, how old were you when this happened? So to kind of get an idea.
I was probably at that point 28. I want to say 28.
Okay, so you're getting closer to 30.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so I kind of knew that you get to that age where something's got to happen. Like it's kind of like a crossroad. You're gonna make a decision. You're gonna keep playing. Because I was starting to become a free agent, and and I was married. I had a kid, and I was saying in my mind, I don't know if I want to be a free agent, bouncing from team to team. And so, if I'm not gonna be a big league player, and it's a coaching opportunity, then I'll do it. I probably could have kept playing, but I had an opportunity to coach. I just took it.
Did you feel? Because I feel at that age, because I got to that, I was done at 30. And I felt like I could play longer, but my injuries were basically like, dude, you're done. 28, 29, 30, and you haven't got to the big leagues yet, but you feel like there's hope. You feel like you can still get there, right? And your mindset is like, dude, I've been playing, like, I'm going to get there. Something's going to happen, right?
Right. That's right.
But then there's also that business side, right? Where you're like, well, I'm not on a 40-man roster.
Yep.
Right. Maybe I'm not a quote prospect.
Yep.
But I'm, like you said, I'm an org guy, but still good enough. If I had to go up and play for a week, 2 weeks, I could do it in the big leagues.
Do it, yeah.
Right? I could fill a roster spot. So that's at what point did you feel like, because kids don't understand that as a scout now, they don't know that some of you, we're going to draft you, and we already believe that you're an organizational player.
Yeah.
Now, they don't know that. At what point did you feel like you knew that?
Well, I felt like first of all, I was drafted by the Orioles, in the 19th round. And when I was with the Orioles, I was deemed prospect. Well, when I got traded to the Pirates after the 92 season, and I came to Pittsburgh, I didn't believe that right away, but it was different because it was a different organization, and I could tell that there wasn't like a connection with me, per se. So I felt like I had to start from scratch and develop relationships and try to prove who I was as a baseball player to the organization. And there were people in front of me. Bruce Stryver was in front of me. Austin Manahan was the #1 pick. They were in front of me. Wow. And so I kind of sat behind those guys in '93. I wasn't like the starter for the first time in my life. And I was like, it was a change. It's something that I just hadn't been accustomed to. And so playing off the bench and playing like a utility role and doing stuff to like, man, I don't know how much I enjoyed this, because I think I'm better than this. And so I had to wait. And Austin was struggling offensively, and I'm like, dude, I know I can play, and this dude's not hitting, but he was the #1 pick, man. There was money invested in him, so he had to get every opportunity to fail.
Yeah.
And he did, and Bruce Schreiber could hit, but I feel like I was a better athlete and better overall player than Schreiber's also. But I just kept grinding, man. I just kept grinding because I did believe in myself, and I just kept my nose to the grind, and eventually I got a chance to play a lot. But once I started understanding like the 40-man roster and how that works, because once I got to AA, I was having a really good year. And then Kevin Pokovich was a high pick, and Pokey got like promoted above me. And I was like, all right. So now I'm understanding that. Back then I called it like a filler player. It's the same thing as org player. But I never gave up hope in that something could happen, because I believed in my talent, and I just believed that something would happen. Some type of door would open, and then I would get an opportunity to play. Because every now and then somebody would say something to me, either Chet's last name, Montgomery.
Montgomery, yeah.
Yeah.
He was like 90.
Yeah, he was 100, yeah. But they would always mention something to me, that would give me a little spark of hope, And so those are the things that kept me going and kept me believing that something could possibly happen. And so I just kept fighting and kept grinding. And I said to myself that I would always do everything that I could control, and do the best that I could possibly do. And if I do that, I can live with the outcome. And so it didn't matter to me, if the outcome was being a major league player or not. I just wanted to maximize who I was as a baseball player. And I felt good about that when it was all said and done, because I do believe that I didn't cheat myself. I played hard. I worked hard. I was a good teammate, and so I didn't cheat myself. Obviously we can always look back and say, I probably could have done this better, or might could have put more attention to this. I think we all can do that.
Yeah.
But in a nutshell, I felt like I gave a great effort to give myself a chance to be the best that I could be. And it didn't work out on the field for me as a player. So I can live with that. I can live with that. So I didn't feel bad about it, because once I became a coach, and I think it's important, when you're a player that starts coaching kind of young like I did, you've got to be done with playing in your mind. Otherwise, you're not going to be a very good coach.
That's the hardest part, would you say, right? You have to transition immediately.
Yeah, absolutely. Because I mean, when you're a coach and you're still thinking, man, I can hit this guy, or I could have made that play. I mean, that's no good, man.
Right.
Players don't want to hear that. They don't want to hear. I've found that players don't really want to hear about what you did when you played. It's, what can I do to help the player? And so I try not to talk about stuff like that.
Yeah. So now you played 9 years in the minor leagues. You were probably inches away from getting there, and now you transitioned to a coach. What age were you at that point?
I think I was 31, because in '98 I had to be like 30 year, because '98 was the year I was a player coach.
Yeah. Okay.
And I was in AA that year.
Okay.
As a player coach. So I played maybe one game. We had an injury and they couldn't get a player there quick enough, and I was active. I don't even know why I played. I was active. Benny played me for some reason. I remember I got a hit. I couldn't believe I got a hit, because I hadn't been taking BP. I hadn't been taking ground balls. I hadn't been taking nothing. I was just going BP and just transitioning to be a coach. And then we had an injury, and he said, Benny said, "Beasley, you active tonight?" And I was like, what? And I was in the lineup. I was, "Are you kidding me?"
Yeah.
I remember hitting double off the wall. I was like, how did I do that?
I was gonna say you probably had your best game ever, right?
It was unbelievable, man.
Yeah.
It's like when you don't play golf forever, and your first round back is usually pretty good. So it was like that. And I had to play a second game, probably would have been so good. But
yeah, and I'm sure when you say your perspective at that point, you a little bit of a taste of a coach. Were you just completely relaxed at that point? Like kind of not, I'm gonna go play, try to do my best, but I'm not as worried about the outcome.
Exactly, because at that point, it was not like I was the type of guy that I played to eat. I mean, every game for me was like, you got to play well or you might gonna have a uniform tomorrow. Like that was in my mind. I wasn't a prospect and I wasn't on a roster. So every day to me was like survival. And that one particular game that I played was like, whatever, just play, no big deal. So you're right. It's probably the most free I've ever been in professional baseball.
It's interesting, right?
Yeah, it really is. you just take all the expectations and all the added pressures that we put on ourselves and that other people and organizations put on us. You take that stuff away, then you can perform. And that's what helped me manage. And I didn't forget that.
Mm-hmm. That's awesome.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So now you've started coaching. You're still in the Pirates organization. You're working with our good buddy Jeff Bannister.
Mm-hmm.
Where and when do you get your first managerial job?
It was 2001 because I'd been a hitting coach a couple of years. And then I think Dave Clark was slated to go to Williamsport, the New York Penn League. And Dave Clark Lord McClendon was hired as the manager, and he took Dave Clark with him as his hitting coach. And so we had an open spot. But all of this happened kind of late in the offseason, so they didn't hire anybody. And I went to spring training as the hitting coach. And then like the first week of spring training, I think it was Cam and Vuk maybe, they approached me with managing the short season. Yeah. And I enjoyed being a hitting coach. I loved being a hitting coach. I didn't want to manage. And then Willie Stargell was still around. And Willie Stargell convinced me that I needed to take the managing job. And I said, Willie, I don't want to do it. And he said, you need to do it. You need to do it. You'll be good at it. And so he ended up talking me into accepting it. And I said, well, I've never managed. I don't have any experience. And Cam said, well, we'll let you manage extended. Woody always managed extended and ran everything down there. Yeah. And so to get Woody to kind of take a step back and allow me to run extended and manage the team and just deal with the players from a managerial perspective, I respect Woody for that because he didn't have to do that. And he really did a good job of it because he really just got out of the way and let me do it. And, he would advise me if I needed advice, but he didn't try to do the job for me. He allowed me to do it. And that's what the organization had asked of him. So I'm thankful that he allowed me to get that experience. And man, one thing I found out quickly is that I loved it. Yeah. I mean, I love being a hitting coach. You deal with players, but as a manager, I felt like you could really impact and in so many ways because, when I was a hitting coach, I focused on hitting, and I've been an infield coordinator. You focus on just infield. But as a manager, you look at everything. You're involved with every player on that team, on that roster, pitchers, position players, and it's not just one specific area. I mean, it's just a broad view of the game and of each individual that's in that clubhouse. And so I love the challenge of taking such a diverse group and just unite it. I mean, that was one of the things that I love when you could see them come together and play as one and really go out on the field and represent what you stand for as an organization and what we've instilled and how we want to play the game and to respect the game. And I just enjoyed that. I had a great feeling about having the opportunity to impact men like that. And not just even baseball players, but I felt like I could make a difference in who they were as men as well. Mm-hmm. And that was probably most important because I, more than anyone, understood that not everybody's going to make it to the major league. So but everyone can be a good human being. So that was probably one of my biggest things.
That's interesting. So what I gathered there is you were actually, you had, you could say, some fear of not wanting, you were comfortable being a hitting coach. You were uncomfortable, like you want to be a manager. And so your first thoughts there were, dude, are you crazy? Like, I don't want to do that, right?
Absolutely.
I want to stay in my lane. I want to be a hitting coach. Forget that managerial spot. But you gravitated toward it and you loved it immediately. What were any stories you could share with us as you started managing? Because you're in your early 30s now. You're probably dealing with teenagers, young kids in their 20s. Any stories you have for us that you felt like you made some impact with some players?
Yeah, I mean, well, a lot of things. I mean, I just think like one in particular, like Brandon Chavez, like, and this is just talking about how when you really build a relationship with your players, and because I think we become more than just their baseball coach. You become father figures and mentors, and so, and it really came to the surface with me because I always invested in the player every day. I check in on every player. I wanted to know how they were doing, how the family was, and I wanted to know about their lives outside of baseball. Yeah. And so when Chavez calls me at like 3:30 in the morning, and he's lost, and his father's they're from Hawaii, and his father just passed, and I'm the person that he calls, and he wants me to come to his apartment and just be with them, I mean, and that I'll never forget that. I mean, and I did. I got up, I went to his apartment, and we just sat there, and I didn't say a whole lot in the beginning because I wanted him to be able to just say what he wanted to say or feel however he needed to feel, or if he wanted me to talk, then I would allow him to just direct the conversation. But we did. We sat there and we just spent time together, and I was just there for him. I mean, I didn't have to say anything. I was there for him in a time where he needed someone to really be there for him. Had nothing to do with baseball, nothing whatsoever. Right. And so that was one moment that I'll never forget. And then another situation is kind of like how you can build a relationship and then get messages across to players. We had Walter Young, Big Walt's the first baseman, and we're in Hickory, North Carolina, and we're playing. We were in first place at the time, and I had a really good team, but it was just lefty on the mound that night, and he struck Walt out really, really bad. Like, it looked ugly up there. And so I'm like, because I used to do this to players a lot, but I really got Walt good. And so I forget who was on the bench. I think it was Aliendo or somebody. I said, get your helmet. I said, Walt's up third. I said, I want you to act like you're going to hit for him. I said, you're not. I said, but I want you to act like it. Don't let him know. And so he came in. I was getting ready to coach third, but I'm right by the dugout. Yeah. And I told him, I said, hold tight before you go to hit. And he looked at me all funny. He said, why? And I said, well, I'm probably going to pinch hit for you. And he said, why, Bees? And I said, well, I mean, I watched your last at bat, dude. I said, I don't know that I can send you up there again like that. I need to protect you right here. I said, that guy made you look pretty bad your last at bat. I said, I don't know that you have a chance against this lefty. And I'm poker facing him. And he's like, are you kidding me? He was really mad.
Getting hot, yeah.
He's like, I don't believe you. I said, just hold tight, And so I told him that I was going to pinch hit for him. He sat down. He wasn't ready to hit at all. Okay. We got 2 quick outs, and Aliendo was just like standing there with his helmet back. And I did that, told him sat down. I said, Walt, go hit. At the last moment, nothing, no preparation, no nothing. And he went up there and he hit. And I mean, he hit an absolute moonshot off this guy. And then he comes around third, he looks at me and he goes, yeah, you pinch it for me again. Think about that. And so when the game ended, I called him into my office and I said, hey man, do you understand what happened tonight? He said, no, what are you talking about? I said, well, you were mad at me, right? He said, yeah, I was ticked at you. And I said, and I'm good with that. I said, I respect that. You know, I said, why were you able to go up to the plate and do what you did with ease after the guy just carved you up your first at bat? Mm-hmm. He was like, man, you challenged me. Like, you basically told me, like, I couldn't hit this guy. So I was determined to show you, like, I was locked in. Okay. And I said, that's my point exactly, Walt. I said, that same focus that you took up there and that same energy that you took up there at that at bat, like you were on a mission. That's what you need to take up there every single time. I shouldn't have to pull that out of you. Right. I said, I need that to be a part of who you are. And then he got to start. I said, I was never going to pinch hit for you right there. Mm-hmm. I said, the whole thing was staged. I said, you can ask Aliendo. Then he started laughing. And so I said, so you need to thank me for the home run. Don't be all upset. And so, but I said, but this is what I expect out you each and every day. I said, if you want to be a big leaguer and you want to be the very best you can be, take that mentality to the plate every single time, brother. And he appreciated that. So, I mean, to have the opportunity to have moments like that, teaching moments and moments where you can embrace your guys when they really need you outside of the field, you know, those are the things I'll never forget.
That's sweet, man. That's so cool. Because what I hear there is when we get into the season, right? We're playing every day. We can get lost in at times giving away at bats.
Yeah,
right?
absolutely.
Not having that complete focus every single time, because it's another day, another 4 at bats. I'm exhausted. Yeah. This bat weighs 5 pounds.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I used to do things like with Jose Bautista. You know, I'd take him out of the game. Like Bowdy would be 4 for 5, and his fifth. I mean, the one out that he made that night would be like a missile, like right at the left fielder or something. And he couldn't do anything about it. He couldn't hit the ball any harder. But his attitude would be terrible about it. Yeah. And then, you know, he'd go out between the innings and he just launches his throws over the first baseman's head because he's so mad. And his teammates hated it. He didn't know his teammates hated it, but I knew because I would hear the comments. And so I would call him right out the game, right in the midst of that. And if I took them out of the game, they had to sit right beside me. And like, I'm not a guy that yells and curses and screams. I don't do any of that because that's not a part of my belief system. But I take them out. I said, if you come out the game, you got to sit right beside me. Mm-hmm. You got to sit right beside me. So maybe we can talk about it or whatever, but I won't take you out of the game, then allow you to go in the clubhouse or allow you to sit down the end of the bench and just be disconnected. Yeah. I won't allow that. So if I have to take you out of the game for any reason, you sit beside me. And so he did. He'd sit beside me and he'd cry. And so I called him in afterwards and I talked to him. I said, Bowdy, do you understand why I took you out of the game? And he said, no, I don't understand it, man. I said, man, you know, taking money from you is not an issue. I said, you don't mind like paying $100. I said, I don't want your money. I said, but I do want you to learn certain things that's important. And I said, for me, the most important thing for you is playing because you are passionate about playing this game. You love to play and you want to be on the field at all times. Mm-hmm. I said, but I need you to understand the perception of how your teammates view you. I said, I'm going to be 100% honest with you. I said, listen, dude, you're 4 for 5. Your out is a line out. I said, the guy next to you, I said, you're whining and complaining about that. I mean, you're screaming, you're cursing, you're throwing stuff, like you're irate. Mm-hmm. I said, the guy next to you in his lockers, he's 0 for 4 with 3 punch outs. I said, you get my point? He don't care about that one line out that you made. You got 4 hits, man. Yeah. I'm saying he don't want to hear about you coming in and doing that. I said, and then you go out and check out on defense. I said, you're my best player. I said, so your teammates are looking at you like you're the most selfish guy that's ever put the uniform on. I said, I don't want you perceived that way. Mm-hmm. I said, so I have to take you out and I need to sit you down and try to explain this to you. I said, because the worst thing that could happen is you're not perceived as a team player. I said, so I want you to get that message. And if I have to take you out tonight, the next night, and after that, I'll do it. I will do it. I said, because I need you to get this. And he was a smart guy. He was sharp. He got it. Yeah. But to be able to form the right relationships with those guys, to be able to do those type of things, and they still love you and respect you, you know, I think that speaks towards investing in the person first.
Absolutely. So that this is Jose Bautista pre getting to the big leagues.
Absolutely.
But learning these lessons in the minor leagues, that because when he got to the big leagues with the Pirates, he was obviously a good player. He got to the big leagues, did well, but he wasn't the Jose Bautista we saw with the Blue Jays.
No.
So, now, did you notice those swing changes and adjustments right away with him when he left the Pirates to the Blue Jays?
I didn't.
Yeah.
I didn't notice all that. I mean, because I was with him in Pittsburgh before he left. He was playing really good in Pittsburgh.
Right.
He kind of clashed with the staff that we had there at the time. Okay. And he got traded. I think he went into a situation that for some reason he felt free, felt wanted. Because I think he didn't feel wanted at the end of his tenure in Pittsburgh. And so he was playing with a different type of emotion. Okay. And it's like that one game you said I was free. I think he felt free to finally do what he's capable of doing. I mean, I never really saw the difference in the swing stuff that I heard about. I heard people talking about the adjustments that he made, but I knew him from the minor leagues. I had him 4 times in the minor leagues, and I was with him in Pittsburgh.
Right.
And he always killed a fastball. Always killed a fastball. And he could hit a breaking ball too. And he was a smart guy. So I never really saw those changes. So if they must have been something really minuscule adjustments that he made, because I didn't see anything glaring. And I played against him a ton when he was in Toronto.
I just remember the big because I'm kind of picturing what he did. I think he was just kind of a step for the ball and swing guy, kind of very simple. But then when he got to Toronto, it was kind of the bigger leg kick.
Yeah, he did hang a little bit.
He would hang that up there, and it seemed like it was to slow him down.
Yeah,
that was
that probably did help him stay behind the ball a little bit.
Yeah,
because you're right. He would get to his front side a little quick in Pittsburgh, and that would make him be around a lot of balls. And so because he's really top hand heavy. But in Toronto, he did have a little more of a leg kick where he hung. That probably kept him through it. But, he didn't forget the stuff in the minors, because this is once he became Jose Bautista in Toronto with the big numbers and big contract. And I guess someone was doing an article on him about stuff. And he mentioned me as one of his managers that had a really great impact on him coming up through the minor leagues.
That's awesome.
Because the reporter called me and he said Bautista had mentioned you as, the manager probably had the most impact on him coming up as a young kid, and he interviewed me about it. So
that's awesome.
They don't forget.
Makes you feel good about him being you're actually providing some information to players and
absolutely
part of that. That's great. So now, so you've continued some managing in the minor leagues, then you get to the big leagues. So tell us about that big league experience as a coach.
Yeah, in 2006, I've been managing in Altoona in AA with the Pirates, and I hadn't managed in AAA to that point. But just so happened that off season, actually the New York Yankees called and they interviewed me for their infield coordinator's job. Okay. And they hired me. Brian Graham was the farm director. And Brian said, hey, if the Yankees are going to give you the coordinator's job, you got to take it. We'd love for you to stay here as a manager in AA. He said, but you can't pass that job down. So I accepted that job, and that was like December. And then, so I was a Yankee for like a month. Then January, the Nationals called, and they were like, we have 2 big league jobs. We want you to interview for one of them. And I said, okay. They said, when can you be here? Well, I live in Virginia, so I said, I can be there today. I can be there tomorrow, whenever you want me there. And they said, well, come in tomorrow morning. So I went in and I sit down with Jim Bowden, and we interviewed. And Cashman had given him 48 hours to interview me and make a decision. And so the interview process was cool for me. It was good. I mean, a few trick questions here and there, but I knew what my belief system was, and I wasn't going to compromise, any of my non-negotiables, who I was as a man, or what's important to me. I won't do that for any job. Yeah. So I mean, first thing I told them about my faith, my belief in Christ and everything. I said, that's because he asked me, who are you? And I said, well, first and foremost, I'm a strong Christian. I believe in God. I said, I won't compromise my faith for anyone or for any job. I said, so if you expect me to be something different, then you got the wrong guy. So I said that right up front. Then Frank Robinson was the manager, and so they kind of asked me some other questions relating to how I would deal with a manager, Frank's caliber or this and that.
Okay.
So it was a good interview, and he ended up hiring me after that interview, and so I had an opportunity 2006, my first big league experience as a major league third base coach, and I wasn't initially the infield guy. I was just a third base coach, and it's kind of help out in other areas of instruction. But I ended up being the infield guy, and so that was quite the experience because they had a lot of veteran players, and I hadn't managed above AA. I had managed in the Arizona Fall League 1 year, which at that time it was only AA, AAA players. It's a little different now, and so that was kind of my only experience with older veteran players. But that team, man, you got Nick Johnson at first base, Jose Vidro at second, Royce Clayton at short, and Ryan Zimmerman was the baby, and that was his first year in the major leagues, full year. He got drafted in 2005, and he got called up in September of 2005.
Right out of college.
He never saw the minor leagues.
Yeah.
Period. I mean, that was I don't think a lot of people know how that was. That was impressive what he was able to do. And so, but he was the only young kid that was on that team. Everybody else was a legit vet. And so I'm like, okay, how do I maneuver these vets and get relationships with them and find out what their routines are, but at the same time get them to do some things that I need them to do adjustment wise. And so it was a challenge, but I ultimately enjoyed that, and it just reiterated the same thing that I knew in the minor leagues, that the most important qualities you can have as a coach is to make sure that you're fair and you're firm, but you're always honest. You always have to be honest, and you have to speak truth. And I think people respect truth, whether they like truth or not. You respect it, and I think that's what helped me. They respected the fact that if I didn't like something, I would tell them, hey, I don't like that. I think you could do this better, but have a solution. That's one thing about big league players. Don't tell them what they're doing wrong and not have a solution. Right. I mean, anybody can find problems, but we're looking for solutions. And so I would never tell them something without having something to give them in place of that. And so they trusted that I knew what I was talking about, and I had the best interest in heart. And so it ended up being a really, really good deal for me. So I enjoyed it. That was just a 1-year situation because Frank ended up getting fired after that year. Okay. And then we were on hold as a staff. I was anyhow. And then Manny Actor was hired, and he brought his own people in to coach the bases, I guess people that he had known throughout his career. And so I ended up going back to Pittsburgh as a field coordinator for 1 year. And then in 2008, I was back in the big leagues with Pittsburgh again as a third base coach, 8, 9, and 10. So, okay. So it's been an experience, man, for me. But it's been one of those deals where, you never know. Like I never knew what my career was going to be like. Like I wanted to be in the major leagues, and once I was coaching, I was like, well, I want to be a major league coach. I want to manage in the big leagues because I always had success as a manager in the minor leagues, and Baseball America Manager of the Year and what have you. I had a couple of those under my belt. We won 2 championships while I was managing. We were in the playoffs every year except 2 out of 7 years managing, and so I had a lot of success as a manager, and I just felt like I would get an opportunity to manage at the major league level. And I did it, but, I've been there. This is my 10th major league season
already
as a third base coach. It's 9 service times wise, but it's my 10th season. And you just don't never know, man. You don't know. You just got to keep grinding and keep believing. And and doors open up that, you know, obviously for me it's faith-based, because I believe that God's kind of is in control of my life, and he opens doors for me and leads me in places to where he would want me to be or need me to be, and my job is to just be faithful in the process. And I always believe that if I would just walk worthy and be faithful, that, you know, whatever he had for me is for me. And that's why I never like second guess stuff or worried about stuff. I just like, I know I've given my best. Maybe this is the will of God, and I'm good with that, because I just believe he has me where he has me for a specific reason. And if I spend my time trying to find out why I'm here, or I can spend my time trying to figure out what is it, God, that you have placed me in this position to do, because there's an assignment, obviously, and I need to find that and fulfill that, as opposed to wondering why is this happening to me. And so that's kind of how my outlook has been on that, and that's why I've always been able to have a good perspective on things.
Yeah, no doubt. That's awesome. So you get over as you're managing third base, you're invited, or whatever I want to hear about the relationship with you and Jeff Bannister, because you're now still the Texas Rangers third base coach.
Yeah.
You're currently the third base coach. Jeff Bannister becomes the manager over there. How does that all work out, and how do you get over to Texas?
Yeah, you know, Banny got the job here in Texas, and I was very happy for him. We hadn't talked a whole lot. I just called him and congratulated him when he got the job. I never thought once about that I'm going to be on his staff. I never asked him, hey, you need a coach or whatever. None of that. I just congratulated him. Hey, congrats, man. I'm happy for you, because I know that he was kind of like me. You know, he's a grinder, man, grinding through the system and you know, dreaming that something can happen. And he got the ultimate blessing to manage at the major leagues, not just at the major leagues, but in his home state of Texas.
Yeah.
I know what that meant to him, you know. And so I was very happy for him. And then it was like December when he called me. I was coming home from church, and he called me. He said, hey, what are you doing? I said, I'm on my way home from church. And he said, I'm looking for third base coach. He said, you want to be with me? You with me? And I said, man, I'm with you 100%. You know, just say the word.
You're doing this as you're going out.
Yeah, I'm like, yes. You know, so I had to come in. He told me to come in. I had to sit down and interview because, you know, he knew me, but, you know, the GM, no one, John Daniels or no one here knew me within the Ranger organization. So I had to go through the interview process, and I did. And then they hired me, you know, that same day. So it was great, man. So you know, I'm grateful to Banny for this opportunity to give me the opportunity to be here. And I mean, like when he got let go, it took a little bit out of me, you know, because he brought me here. And so I felt weird, you know, and because I'm still here and he's not. And it's like, it's a weird kind of feeling, you know, but I'm grateful for him for this opportunity. But at the same time, you know, I wish he was still here with me, you know, which my hopes was that we would do this together for a long time, just the two of us would. And, but, you know, he's happy for me that I'm still here. And I'm praying and hoping that he gets another opportunity to manage, because I think he deserves that. And I know he would be awesome at it. So that's my hope for him, you know. But me, you know, it's been an opportunity again, and I don't know. I mean, the Rangers organization has been great to me. You know, I dealt with cancer, and once again, I believe God puts us in certain places for the right reasons. My battery's getting low. I better plug up. I'm gonna move so I can plug up.
Yeah, no problem.
But I think God puts us where we need to be for specific reasons, man. And, you know, I dealt with cancer, and I just know that being here with the Texas Rangers, I got different treatment than I would have received had I not been here. you know, the ownership group here, they made sure that I had the best of everything. Like they called me when I was diagnosed and they said, nothing against your doctors in Richmond, but we want you to have the best of treatments. You know, they want to get me to MD Anderson in Houston. And this is the off season. So I'm like, well, how am I going to get back and forth to Houston? And they were like, don't worry about it. You know, just let us know whenever your appointments are. And they sent their planes, private jets to pick myself and my wife up and flew us from Virginia to Houston, back to Virginia. I mean, they invested in me, because they showed me right then and there that they cared about me, you know, and the GM told me right off the bat, do not worry about your job. Just focus on getting healthy. Your job will be here when you get ready. And so all that stuff meant a lot. And so, you know, it's been a blessing to be able to be a third base coach, and I don't know, just to do this thing that I never really dreamed. I never really aspired to coach, to be honest with you. I think it was about playing.
Right.
But you just don't never know, like, what can happen in your life. And I remember my very first game in the big leagues in 2006. We opened up in Shea Stadium against the Mets. And, yeah, I was a young kid that grew up in the country in Virginia. And, you know, my father was a self-employed logger, and he was a lumberjack. And, you know, my mom was a housewife. And I got 7 brothers and sisters. We had no money. We had nothing, you know. And I just remembered that when I walked into Shea Stadium, when I stepped in the third base coaching box, and I looked up and I could see like 50-some thousand New Yorkers screaming and yelling. It was loud, man. And for me, there was a moment of quietness, and I just looked up and I said, thank you, God, because how did I get here? Mm-hmm. It was nothing but your grace and your mercy that I'm here. And so, I mean, it was just a very humbling moment for me. I'll never forget that moment. And but that's why I tell kids all the time, like, your beginning and your ending, they just don't have to be the same. Right. They don't have to be the same. You know, if you aspire to do something, then just do it, man. Then don't let people tell you that you can't do something or you can't be something. You just keep pushing, and you keep believing in yourself. And you just keep going, even when there's obstacles in the road. Turn those obstacles into opportunities, and that's kind of what I've been grateful about and thankful for. I mean, you know, I've been very blessed, and I'm still very blessed. So
that's awesome. So that was you led me to my question of, you've obviously experienced some adversity in your life. You've gone through cancer. Where are you at now with that?
Yeah, I've got my checkup coming up probably next month. I got to set the date because I've had to cancel a couple of times because of the COVID. Mm-hmm. But I'm going on 4 years clean. And so I need this year, next year, and then they'll, you know, deem you cancer free, and after the 5 years of checkups. But everything has been good. I haven't had any setbacks or what have you. I've been 100%, like, ever since, you know, I went through the process in 2016, the chemo, radiation, and the surgery, and I wore an ostomy bag, a temporary bag, for like 4 months, and it was quite the journey, so to speak. Yeah, it was. But you know, I went through that just believing that my body was going to be healed and made whole. And I was. I mean, the thing about that story is that I never like worried about that. Like when I was diagnosed, I didn't lose one night's sleep over that. And
you never had any down days or like a woe is me type moment?
No, never. If anything, I would say, why not me? Because a lot of people say, why you? Like, how does this happen to you? Like, I was like, why not me? Like, no one's immune from things happening to them in their lives. I don't care who you are. If you live long enough, you're going to deal with some type of adversity. Like, what makes me so special that I can't be afflicted with something or have to deal with some type of adversity in my life? I mean, I would say, like, so my aunt was telling me, one of my aunts was, I said, well, the devil chose the wrong guy, because he's not gonna be happy with the outcome of this one. And so I just, man, I just like flooded my mind with scripture, and I would say stuff out loud, and I just believed. Like, I didn't care about what I felt like or what the doctor said. Man, I probably was rude to doctors, because like they would say, well, you're gonna have this, you're gonna have that. I said, no, I'm not. I'm not. I'm not gonna experience that. You need to take this medicine. I'm not taking any medicine. I'm not taking pills. I'm not doing it, because I don't like taking pills. I said, I'm not doing it. I said, I'm not in pain. I'm not hurting. I'm not doing it. Well, next week you're gonna feel this way. You're gonna be nauseous. You're gonna be weak. You won't be walking here. You'll be in a wheelchair. And I said, no, I won't. I will not. And man, I didn't believe any of that. Like, I never had side effects from chemo, from radiation. I was never fatigued. I didn't lose weight over it. I didn't go through that stuff. Loss of appetite, all the numbness and things. And I do know people that have, because by me going through it, now I deal with, and I speak to a lot of people that deal with cancer. So I know the rigors of cancer and what it can do to your body and how it can break you down. But man, I was spared from all of that. Why was I spared? I don't know. I mean, when I get to heaven, I can ask God. But I do believe this, that I didn't waver in my faith at all. I mean, I believed that God had healed my body, and I believed that I was protected through the blood of Christ. And I kept saying this, like, I would say, like, my white blood counts, my red blood counts, they won't dip, like they will not be messed with. Like my hemoglobin, everything. I said my body will be chemically balanced. It won't be imbalanced. Treatment and radiation will not harm anything that's good inside of me. It won't. It will do what it was designed to do. But my body is covered through the blood of Christ, and no weapons that are formed against me shall prosper. Nothing unclean shall dwell in me. I didn't let people say your cancer, and I never said my cancer, because it's not mine, and I didn't claim it like that. Like, I rebuked it. Like, it can't be in me. It doesn't belong in me. It's got to go. And that was what I stood hold. I took hold of that mindset and that mentality, and I never let that go. I didn't let it go, man, no matter what. Like the doctor was saying, because of the tumor that was in my rectum, it was in a bad spot, and the doctor was saying, I can't promise you that I can do the surgery that you asking me to do. He said, chances were I was going to have to wear a colostomy bag for the rest of my life. And I said, no chance. There's no chance of that. I said, there's no chance that's happening. And he said, how can, I said, it ain't happening. I said, I'm telling you, I'm not going to wear it. I said, my body's going to function the way God designed me to function. And the doctors kept looking at me like baffled. But then every time I would come for my checkups, they would see my blood count and my numbers. And he was like, how can your stuff be so intact? What are you doing? Like I'm not doing anything. I'm just covered, man. He couldn't believe it. He could not believe it. And then the tip of the iceberg was when I was done with all the treatment, and I went in. I was going to have surgery to remove the tumor. And so this was a Friday. Okay, they don't do anything on the weekends, but Monday morning was my surgery day. So Friday I did scans, and there was the tumor was still in my rectum, and the chemo and the radiation had not really done much to it, had no effect on it really. And the doctor, he showed me, he scoped everything, and he said, here's the tumor. I could see it, he could see it, my wife could see it, and the others in the room. And he said, I'm kind of disappointed in the results from the chemo and the radiation. And he said, I just don't know that I can do what you're asking me to do Monday, because the tumor is still in a bad spot and it's very significant and it's low. He said, I don't think I can reconnect you. And I said, Doc, you will. You'll reconnect me Monday. You'll see.
Your faith is helping, trying to get him to, like, you got to believe you can do this.
Yeah. Well, I told him, I said, maybe you're not going to do it. I said, maybe you're just going to be guided. I said, but I'm telling you that Monday after the surgery, because he was saying, like, you're going to wake up and you're going to have a bag on your left side or you're going to have a bag on your right side.
Hmm.
He said, if it's on your left side, it's permanent. If it's on your right side, it's temporary. And I said, it will be on my right side when I wake up from surgery Monday. And he's there, I just can't promise you that.
Mm-hmm.
I said, I'm not asking you. And this is what happened. Because that tumor, I saw it, my wife saw it, he saw it, and everyone else in the room. It was like 6 or 7 people in the room, his assistants. And so Friday, my wife and I went to the hotel, and we prayed. And I know I'm turning this to a sermon, but I got to tell this.
Yeah.
And I go, Lord, I claim the healing over my body in April. I said, I claimed it. I said, I believe that you healed me completely. I believe that with every fiber of my being. I believe that you have healed me. I said, the thing that I believed in my spirit, I said, because I've done everything medically that's been asked of me. I've done every treatment, chemo and radiation. I said, and the tumor is still there. It's still very significant. I said, so I just believe that what I believed in my spirit is now going to manifest itself in my physical body. And I said, I claim that Monday morning, when the doctors get inside of me and perform the surgery, I said, they're going to be amazed by what you've done. And I said, there's going to be no other reason that it could have been but you. I said, because they've already seen everything today that still exists. I said, and for Monday, I think it's time that you're going to show up and you're going to show out. You're going to do what only you can do. And you're going to receive glory through this whole process. And this is no lie. Monday morning, I had surgery for 7.5 hours, okay? It was called a robotic pectonomy. It was a surgery that I had where they place a robot inside of me and they put on goggles and do their thing. I guess treat me somewhat like a video game.
Oh, wow.
And so, yeah. And so after 3 hours of surgery, Dr. Chang was my doctor. He went and updated my wife, updated Stacy. And he told Stacy, he said, Friday, we looked at his body. We saw the tumor there is significant and it was low. And I just wasn't sure what I was be able to do this morning. He said, but when we got everything positioned in his body this morning, the tumor that we saw Friday was only scar tissue today. He said, and I'm just going to clean up the scar tissue and clean it. He's going to have clean margins, and I'm going to reconnect them, and it's going to be just fine.
Wow.
But I mean, so to God be the glory.
That's awesome, man.
That's why I have to give him glory, because I know in my life, what he's done, and this whole thing started, this whole part of this, because I believe that God puts me where he needs me to be. If we're faithful, he puts us where he needs us to be. And he put me in Texas. He used Banny to do it, but he put me in Texas for a reason, maybe for a reason like this.
Right.
And so we never know. And that's why I don't complain about stuff, man. I just walk in faith, and what happens, I'm grateful for it.
That's awesome. That's so cool, man. Just hearing you tell that story, just your mindset in regards to that, like you're not going to let anything essentially bad happen to you, right? You're just going to let it happen. Your faith is there, right? It's just nobody is going to basically tear you down.
That's right.
That's
right.
Incredible. That's so cool. So you're still going through that. You're getting closer to the 5 years. So that's awesome. Now you're still in Texas. You're still a Texas Rangers third base coach. Mm-hmm. You guys are opening up a new stadium, right?
Yes.
And you've literally, at the time of this call, we've just got into July. It's July 3rd today, and you just had your first practice.
Yep.
There. Now, are you practicing in the new stadium?
Yeah, we're in the new stadium, which is called Globe Life Field. The old ballpark was Globe Life Park. This is Globe Life Field. We're actually using both of them because we own them both. And so we're able to kind of split up the numbers because we have those 60 numbers of camp. So some guys are working out in the Globe Life Field, which is the new stadium. And then some guys are going over to Globe Life Park, which is not set up for baseball anymore because XFL was playing there before they got canceled.
Okay.
So they totally revamped for football, but we can still use it for things, for conditioning, for pitchers to do things with PFP and stuff like that. And we're going to make a makeshift little field over there for some other stuff. But yeah, we're able to utilize both facilities. But yeah, today was the first official day of spring training. We call it spring training 2.0.
Yeah. Are you guys kind of on regular schedule right now, or is it just like a couple hours, like just like a regular spring training, just starting over again?
It's a little different because of the protocols that are in place with the social distancing and the mask, and you can only have a certain amount of people in one space at a time.
Yeah.
And so we kind of like doing like waves. It's different than a normal spring training where you have everybody together doing everything. So we kind of have two waves. Like today we have two waves come in, a wave come in early, and then that wave gets out of the way and the next wave comes in, and we try to work out so they don't come in contact with each other. And then at 1 o'clock we have a game schedule. And so we'll try to set every day up so that the second wave is the people, the players that participate in that game as well.
Okay.
And so if you work out in the morning, you work out in the morning, then you go, if you're not going to participate in the game. So we're still feeling through it, and trying to clean up any little bugs that we may run into. But today ran smoothly, and, it seems like it's going to go fine. We just got to be diligent to take care of each other. And it's going to be a challenge. It's very different, but hopefully we can get through it. I mean, it takes more than just us. It's 29 other teams that's got to stay safe and healthy as well.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
man. So we got so as you know, I'm a Vegas guy. You got Joey Gallo, who's been quite the staple with the Rangers the last few years. What have you seen with Joey? And because when he got to the big leagues, we all know how much power he had. You had the hit tool, the power tool. The power was, definitely more than the hit tool. But he's starting to figure things out. What are you seeing with Joey's development?
I think it's just like he's maturing a little more as a man. When Joey first came up a few years ago, he worried about a little too much. Like he put a lot of pressure on himself to do well. When you play with Harper and Chris Bryant and guys like that, and then you see them around the league, doing well, he looks at himself as one of those guys, if not better. And so, the added pressure of trying to live up to that hype and put up big numbers, he's kind of wore that on his shoulders a little bit. But I think last year he kind of relaxed a little bit and just decided that, hey, I'm just going to play and be who I am. And I'm not trying to outdo someone else, but just be the best that Joey Gallo can be, because he's a super talent, man. I mean, he is unbelievably talented, and that's what, and I always tell him all the time, like when I'm going out to third and he's on deck, because I tell him, say, remember something, you're Joey Gallo and no one else is. Right. I mean, there's only one of you. I mean, and I'd say you have a special talent, man, that people envy. Like, you wish they could be your size and run as fast as you do and throw a ball like you do and hit a ball as far as you do. I mean, there's nothing physically that he can't do.
Yep.
And so mentally, you got to start believing in your gift, and that's what I try to do with him, is make sure that he believes in the gift that he has, and so that it can flourish. But I think he's starting to come into that mindset where he can just relax and just play the game and have fun doing it without all the pressure that he puts on himself. But, man, he's incredibly talented, man. It's amazing to have that much talent in one person.
Yeah, I had the privilege of, I coached 1 year in high school, and it was at Bishop Gorman, and it just happened to be Joey's senior year. And so I got to witness, all the scouts coming. He was actually a big reason why I got into scouting. We had Joey Gallo, Harvard Westlake had come down during the fall. You had Lucas Giolito, And Max Freed was a part of that team. And there's 100 scouts, watching this in the fall. Like, it's not even the season yet, right? And I'm like looking around, I'm like, God, this is amazing, And, but then just watching Joey, what he was able to do, and then just like you said, his size, right? He's 6'5" now. What is he? Is he close to 240, 250?
He's got to be, man. He is massive. He's huge.
And he still runs, the way
he covers ground. Yeah, to be that fast, that big and that fast, it's ridiculous.
Yeah, he could be a tight end in the NFL right now if he wanted to.
Easily. Yeah, easily.
That's really cool. Well, man, Tony, this has been incredible. I know you have an amazing story. This is everything I expected out of you. Because, back to when we first met, I was just a young kid, 17, drafted by the Pirates, 18, then we finally meet at 19. I didn't know you had come down, and you were my personal Kevin Costner. So that was pretty cool. So it's funny how these stories, and when I started to do this, things start to come out and we're able to start to talk about them, but not realizing it or having that, like, I didn't have that perspective or realize you did that. You're like, I gotta go teach this 19-year-olds? Come on, man. Like, I'm trying to get into the big leagues. Screw Hermansen.
Well, hey, they had value in me because to trust the fact that to think that I could come down and help you, who I knew, we were invested in you big time, and so I guess in hindsight, when I look at that, I'm like, that's a pretty big assignment actually to ask of someone to do. And so obviously they had to believe that I could bring something and I had some type of quality to be able to connect and do something that maybe they must have felt that they didn't have an instructor that could do it at the time. So
well, people have asked me all the time, like, everyone has their infield coordinators and all this stuff. And I was obviously going through a rough struggle in the infield, and really at the end of the day, just wanted out of there. I would get me in the outfield, let me go have fun. And when it got to the point where it wasn't fun, then I started to really question, like, what am I doing? That sounded like you were the same way, going through all that too. So, but man, this has been incredible. What advice, we'll wrap this up, because I really appreciate your time here. What advice do you have for, say, these young high school kids, even a young, college type kid? Any advice that you want to give them?
Well, just enjoy. Enjoy the opportunity that you have, and embrace, like, all of it, like the good, the bad, the ugly. It's really the camaraderie that you build, the friendships that you make, the places and the experiences that you get to have. Those are the things that really last, and you can hold your hat to that. And so I would say, just be the best that you can be, and accept whatever that is, and wherever that leads you, accept that as well, and be content with that. But the bottom line is, because I tell my son, I had a son, he played college ball, he didn't get drafted, but if you've done your very best, like, if you know that everything that you had, you gave it, like, you didn't cheat yourself, you made the necessary sacrifices, then you will hold your head up high and you'll move on to the next chapter of your life. However, if you do not apply yourself, then you'll never forget that. And you'll always wonder, what if I had done this? And that's not a good way to live your life, with the what ifs. So try to eliminate the what ifs of life, and just give your best, man, and be content with the outcome. And if I could, I think that's probably the best advice I could give. You got to enjoy yourself and embrace every moment, every opportunity that you have. And everybody's journey is different, but everybody's journey is necessary and is important. And I say that because, had I ever thought that I would deal with cancer? No. Was 2016 the worst or the best year of my life? I can tell you it was the best year of my life. And it was the year that I dealt with cancer. I learned so much about who I am, who God is, what I'm made out of, but more than that is because of what I went through, I have something to offer to people that are going through the same thing. And I think that you enjoy your journey, that wherever life takes you, man, embrace that journey and make sure that you look at it through the optimistic eyes and understand that there is a purpose behind it. Mm-hmm. So I guess that's the best I could give.
That's awesome. Absolutely. Well, man, we will be, I guess I'll be somewhat rooting for you. We happen to be in the same division. So we'll see about that. But I'm so excited and happy for you with just where things have turned out for you. You know, nothing makes me happier to see. I mean, you're coming up on 10 years in the big leagues.
Yeah.
Coach. Yeah. And, you know, it's when I've been talking to all these players, it's interesting how they're like, I did it once and I titled it, you know, the path that I didn't expect. You know, I didn't expect this to happen. We all grew up. We want to be a big leaguer. We want to play the game as long as we can. Maybe it didn't work out the way we planned, but man, things are going pretty well.
That's right. Right. Exactly right. Exactly right. So yeah, I in my wildest dreams, I probably wouldn't have told you, you know, 20 years ago that I would have been able to do this, you know. But
well, it's awesome, man.
You gotta win each day, man. Win today and see what tomorrow's got for you.
Absolutely. Yeah. Well, you look exactly the same. That, you know, we're talking like 20 years later, I think, since I've seen you.
Yeah, it's been a while.
Exactly the same.
Only difference is no hair, but
hey, man, welcome to the club. It's all good.
But you know, this is the style. So people with hair they do this now. So it's,
you would look ridiculous with hair.
There you go. There you go. Yeah, but you know, hey, we got to take care of ourselves and keep our bodies in shape and everything. And so
that's right. Well, hey, man, I appreciate your time. Best of luck to you and your family. Appreciate coming on board. I've always respected you, everything you believe about, you know, your relationship with God, your faith. Obviously, that's been a huge impact in your life and is getting you through this bout with cancer. So I applaud you, man. This is awesome.
Thank you, Hermie. I appreciate this opportunity, man. And hopefully, it can inspire someone.
Absolutely. Thanks, man. We'll talk to you soon, Tony. I appreciate it.
All right, brother. Thank you.
Okay. Take care of yourself. We'll see you.
All right. You too.
Okay. Bye-bye. Hey, I hope you enjoyed that episode with Tony. Obviously, you can tell Tony is just an amazing person, amazing character. I've had such huge respect for him coming up as a young player. And he's obviously almost 10 years into being a coach at the big league level. So congrats to him. Congrats to his family. He had some awesome words. I love his faith in Christ through this whole episode. So hopefully you enjoyed that. If you want more coaching for you individually, your son, your daughter, I'm going to be opening up a Zoom live call. It's going to be a monthly membership where you're going to be able to join me live to go through anything that you're going through. I'm going to create a community of athletes where we can get online, we can talk together, some coaching will be done, stories will be shared, and all these experiences. So make sure you check out the information in this link below in the YouTube link section here. So thanks again for joining us. Make sure you subscribe, hit that bell button so you don't miss out on any new episodes. We'll see you in the next show.